Please state your name and tell me about yourself and your background.
My pleasure. I'm Carolyn Brandeen. I joined the league long ago, and I have had a wonderful experience over the last 50 years. Background. What kind of background would be good?
Do you consider yourself an advocate or an activist?
I would say an advocate, probably because of good examples of my home. My mother and dad from northern Wisconsin were very involved in the community. So when I moved to Janesville in 1960, it seemed a logical thing to look around and see, well, where's my place in this new town?
And so is that what prompted your interest and engagement in our league?
I was a young mom with little kids, and I was interested in things larger than diaper rash, and some things that were more thought-provoking than what I was seeing on the TV. And the League of Women Voters seemed to be a group of people that were making things happen, and that was in the 60s.
And so you joined the league in the 60s.
I was pregnant when I joined the league in 1964, so I know when I joined because I was pregnant when I joined. There was a fall membership coffee social, and I joined, and then the next meeting I went to, or soon after, I was not pregnant any longer, and I was not recognized. They didn't know who I was. I was different size altogether. But one of the first things I did for the league is register voters, and that seemed to be an important thing to do that only the league was doing in 1964. In the community. I mean, people could go to City Hall, but they needed to find somebody in the community, and the League of Women Voters were in my neighborhood registering voters.
Was there anyone who inspired you to remain a member all these years?
The people that I have met in the League of Women Voters, not only our own league, but across the county and across the state and nationally, seem to be the kind of people that I wanted to be around.
Thank you. So what issues, you mentioned voter registration, were of greatest interest to you, and how did you engage on that issue?
I wasn't sure how government worked, and one of the things in the early years of the league here, and I assume other places, was to do a county book. And it was a big bother to do a county book. We had to go interview department heads in the county. We had to figure out how the system worked. This was in a time when there was 49 members of the county board, which seemed a great number during that time. If not 42, 49? I think it was 49. And what was after the fact learning about it is I learned how county government worked, and am amazed to this day that lots of us don't know who our county board supervisor is, don't know that it's the easiest elected office to run for because it's a district that you can walk. It's not all that big a district across the county. So the experience of putting together the Rock County book is something that we published for members and for others, and how county government worked, who was responsible for zoning, who was responsible for water and air, who was responsible on the local level when there was a state mandate for education, for any number of things, that the county had a responsibility. And maybe because of that, I've always been interested in county government and how it worked as an in-between the state and the local municipalities.
So has your interest changed over time?
No. I don't know. Maybe because during the early years that the league was interested in marital property reform, and were willing to take a stand on Wisconsin becoming a marital property state, and in the 70s working toward equal rights amendment to the Constitution. Those were big issues that allies that are called now, or partners, we could work with. And it was not partisan at all. It didn't feel partisan. There were lots of members of the League of Women Voters who worked for candidates. And some of the skills that I learned as a league member in leadership, I not transferred, but used when I worked for candidates, and worked for candidates with great enthusiasm. The only downside, of course, is that I couldn't serve in a leadership role on the League of Women Voters Board of Directors when I was supporting a partisan candidate. But until then, I was involved on the board and really enjoyed the meetings that I attended.
So how would you characterize the contributions you've made, great or small, to the League at the local, state, or national level?
What a good question that I don't have an answer to. Let me think a minute.
It's a big one.
How would I characterize my contribution? Well, I don't know.
Well, may I ask it also this way, what personal or other skills are needed today to make the League successful from your contributions that you know of?
It seems to me that the way volunteer time is invested, that projects worked better than long-time membership. And some of the League members and I would form a duo or a trio or 4 people working together on a project. And when that project was done, we all knew the subject matter better, but we knew each other better and where our leadership skills were.
So Carolyn, have you seen a change in the composition of membership? And do you think maybe the League is more inclusive or diverse than it was 50 years ago?
I'd like to think that the League of Women Voters has always been trying to be more inclusive and open to everyone in the community. There's certainly more men who are members now than there were in the past, in my experience. But if we're talking about people that are underrepresented, whether it's people of color or people who are on the margins, efforts have been made with varied success. The emphasis that we've had from the national convention in Chicago that I went to, and that Linda also went to, and Nancy Stabb went to make diversity a priority for the National League has not forced us, but it has invited us to be more intentional, and I'm glad of it. Has it changed? I don't think I know, but I have not seen lots of my brown and black sisters being part of the League of Women Voters in Janesville. We need to keep working on that.